What's up, y'all? Preston Smiles here, messenger of love, sent here to remind us all of the one truth. And that truth is that love is all there is, was, and ever will be. Today's transmission is about something that is near and dear to my heart. Why? Because I watch it show up in my space, and especially in the space of many people that I've coached and supported. And it's an interesting thing that we do as humans that I want to really dive into for a moment and have this be a reminder, a helpful reminder. If you're being with anything that, quote unquote, isn't in alignment with what you say you want, okay? So as the title suggests, the blame game is the weakest move in all of the game, right? So let's pretend like this is like a video game and there's a lot of moves we can make. Blaming the game, the other players, and anything, the joystick, blaming anything other than, and not even yourself, anything other than your, let's call it this, because it's not the self that plays that game. It's a virus of the mind. Right? So just like computers, these bugs, right? I remember, especially back in the day, the AOL days when computers just started, you pull up a certain thing and then all these pop-ups would come up and then you get a virus on your computer. Well, there's no difference from a virus on a computer to the virus of the mind, right? There's a collective consciousness thought process that there's a separate self, one. Two, that it's a dog-eat-dog world, and if something isn't happening and we're in a relationship, because I'm egocentric, which means I think that the world revolves around me, then it must be your fault, the government's fault, your partner's fault, or whoever it is other than the self. Now, the true self has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered. The truth self is still innocent and pure and understands and knows that there's only one of us here. And yet, when we get into the wounded ego game, we begin to blame the rules, the referees, the players, the spectators. We blame everyone but the virus of the mind. And so I want to invite you to remember that no matter where you go, there you are. There are many people who've been, and I'll take this example, who've been in relationships with people who say, my ex-husband was an asshole. And then they go on to date someone else. And that guy was greedy. And then they go on to date someone else. And that guy was too emotional. And then they go on to date someone else. You get what's happening here. Well, no matter where you go, there you are. There you are. Who's the common denominator? Is it the guys that you're attracting? Or is it you? But not the real you. And I really want it capital R, real. I really want to nail that home because a lot of us are identifying as these sort of victim mentality kind of people. And the thing is that we get validated a lot of times through blaming. And when one is playing the blame game, there's a justification as to why X hasn't happened yet. Well, of course I'm not where I should be because, and now tell me what you're blaming. I dare you guys to put that in there. I dare you to leave in the comments because we all do this. Who are you blaming for why you aren't where you should be? Who are you blaming for why you're still on the sidelines? Who are you blaming? Whether it's the internet, whether it's the market, whether it's your husband, your girlfriend, who are you blaming as to why it's not working? Because one, if we really want to get esoteric here, how do you know it's not working? How do you know it's not working? There's no failure, only feedback. There's no failure, there's only results. And so the results may not be favorable in the now moment, but what if you're headed towards what you actually want, but you keep cutting it off and sending the universe a signal that says, I know your foot is on the gas, but let me put the brakes on as well, right? Jeanette said, I blame myself. Yes, this is one of the worst ones, because then we get stuck. For me, I don't blame myself, because I know that I was raised in a Western culture that has a virus of the mind. So I blame the virus. I separate, I disassociate from the thinking, from the race consciousness thought, right? Because the race consciousness thought comes through, and a lot of times what happens is it gets stuck. And instead of us pulling back and seeing it and go, is that true for me? We take it on as if it's who we are. And then we play the game called, well, that's just who I am. That's just how I am. Oh no. Oh no, that's not who you are. That's who you became based on the mother, father, and environment that you were born into, based on the television and all the other environmental factors that are at play. And so the brain is already has a negativity bias. It must go to the worst case scenarios. And so if you aren't double timing the flashlight, the noticing of what the virus is doing, then the virus will have you. Real talk. I'm going to read a couple of these. How do we detach from these stories and viruses of the mind? I just told you. That's exactly how I detach. I disassociate from the thought. The moment I notice that I'm in victimhood, blaming the world at large, my wife, my child, my dog, you name it, whenever I catch that, and the thing is how you catch it is set an alarm. Decide that you're gonna review every 5 hours. Every 5 hours, I'm gonna stop and just ask myself, what am I experiencing in this now moment, and is it true for me? Who am I blaming? Because there's usually something in there. And if you can begin to review and then notice, then you can look at the scenario and detach from it, pull back from it and say, well, what do I choose now? If I wasn't blaming him or her or my ex, if I wasn't blaming the president or the prime minister, if I wasn't blaming blacks or Mexicans or whites, if I wasn't blaming women or men or unconscious men or toxic masculinity, if I wasn't blaming Bumble or Tinder or dating apps, how would I be? Rastafari. If you guys really want to go there, we can go there. This is real talk. Okay, so Sarah said, how do you communicate without blaming others? You just pump up your language like you pump up your arms and your booties and all the other stuff that we pump up, that we work out. So how do you communicate? You communicate from responsibility. Like, for instance, I'll give you a scenario. Let's say someone, you're on a date with somebody, or let's say you're dating somebody, and the person you're dating, here's a good one. Okay, here's a really good one, because, and I just did a video on this for our relationship course, Bridge to Love. So the second cause of divorce in the Western world is about money. Infidelity being one, money being two. What happens in relationships is that people assume that their partners have the same, not even the same, they assume that their money story and their money conversation is the right one. And so if you're buying extra dresses or extra tools or cars or anything, if we're sharing the same money and you're doing that, or the style in which you buy things or use money doesn't work for me, then what tends to happen is in relationships is people unconsciously and consciously blame their partner for why things aren't working out. Here you go again, washing that stupid car. Why don't you just wash it yourself? Right? This is blame, whether you say it aloud or not. Now, how one would address this, right, would be hey, I realized that you were born in a family that held money in a particular way, and that I was born in a family that held money in a particular way. And neither one of us is right, and neither one of us is wrong. However, it would be really helpful if we figured out a way to do this in such a way that it's a little more equal. Because I've noticed that when you buy or wash the car every week and it costs $40, there's a thing in me that starts to get triggered, and I'm making up stories about it, and I don't want to make up stories about it. You love your car. Your car is amazing. I don't have the same values as it pertains to your car, but I have the same values as it pertains to new dresses or X, Y, and Z. And so, husband, boyfriend, can we work this out? Do you see how in that scenario, I took away the blame? I talked about the behavior. I talked about how neither one of us is right or wrong. And I left a space for the partner to actually get that we're in it together. I'm done blaming everything and everybody else but me. Beautiful, Charles. Thank you for sharing that. And back to it, do not blame you. Blame the virus of the mind that has you thinking that you have, quote unquote, a disability. Because I know, Charles, like to the surface mind, you have a disability. We can look and go, oh, he's in a wheelchair. He can't talk like everyone else. Charles has a disability. What if Charles has freaking superpowers, right? You've bought into it because you were born into a society that says Charles has a disability. You were born into a society that has an idea that someone who isn't normal like everybody else is someone who has a disability. Ooh, but let's pull back and question the race-conscious thought that says you have a disability. What if you don't? What if you have a ability that others can't see? Okay, I think that's it. I hope you guys got value from this. Yeah, nothing but love. I think that this is, I'll do my best to keep popping in. For any of you who want to work with me, like I mentioned before in the last video, this will be my last Stretch 22. If you ever want to go deep, like this would be your time. It's 6 months. It's not free, but it's also not ridiculously expensive. Like, jump in if you can. PrestonSmiles.com/stretch22. I also have Man Cave starting in mid-month in July. Peace, grease, love, and light. PrestonSmiles.com. Let's get it.